Hi, New Life Kids. It's Miss Tammy here. And I think you can notice that I am not there today, right? I'm not at New Life Fellowship. I'm not at church this morning. Miss Tammy's on vacation, okay? And so I'm going to still tell you our Bible story, but you're going to have a lot of fun with Commander Chip. And I know that you are all being very, very good and listening and following all of the rules that we talked about last week. So I know you're gonna have lots of fun, but we're just gonna get into our story, okay? So we're starting a new unit about Jesus. Now, who remembers what we're going to turn our classroom into? Do you remember? Yes, we're gonna turn it into a tree house. All right, so the tree house is really cool, and we're gonna learn about Jesus in our tree house. But today, our classroom is in a tree house, and Miss Tammy's not in a tree house either. I'm in my kitchen, recording this message in my kitchen. I've got my plants behind me, okay? So we're gonna be in Matthew, and we're gonna learn about how Jesus called his disciples, the people that followed him, and the people he trained to tell everyone about him, right? But not only were they his disciples, but they were his friends. And Jesus called them to share his love and teach others about him. Just like he called you. You are called by God. And at some point today, you'll get a coloring sheet, okay? On the one side, it's going to have this picture, and there's two on this. But and this is Jesus, and he's looking at the fishermen, and you'll learn about that in a second. And on the back, it says, I am called by God, because each and every one of you is called by God. He made you, he's got a purpose for your life, and so you are called by him, just like the men we're going to learn about in our story today. So our story today is in Matthew 4:19, Matthew chapter 4, and our memory verse is verse 19. Jesus called out to them, come follow me, and I will show you how to fish for people. Who here has ever been fishing? Have you been fishing? Miss Tammy's never been fishing. I don't have any interest in going fishing. I'm sure it's fun for lots of other people, but Miss Tammy's just not interested in that, and that's okay. All of my brothers like to go fishing. My sister likes to go fishing. My mom doesn't like to go fishing, but my dad used to fish all the time. So, lots of people like to go fishing. Miss Tammy's just not one of them. What was the time that you went fishing? Did you fish for fish or for men? Have you ever fished for men? I doubt that. I don't think so. Miss Tammy's never done that either. Okay, so we're in chapter 4. Miss Tammy has her regular Bible because all of our kids' Bibles are at church. So Miss Tammy had one at home during quarantine, but I don't have any now. So let's see, 14, and we're gonna go to verse 18 for our story. Okay, now you're gonna see pictures on the screen that help tell the story, all right? While walking, by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers. Now, who is he? He is Jesus. He saw two brothers, Simon, who was called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And Jesus said to them, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. Immediately, like that, they left their nets and they followed him. And going on from there, he saw two other brothers, James, the son of Zebedee, and John, his brother, in the boat with Zebedee, their father, mending their nets. And he called to them, and immediately they left the boat and their father, and followed him. So they didn't just leave their jobs. They left their dad. They're like, all right, this guy said to follow him, so we're going. They left their dad too. So these guys were fishermen. They were always out. They had their nets to cast out into the water, and they would catch all these fish and they'd pull them in. And then once they'd get them to shore, they'd put them on these carts, and then the carts would be taken to the market and they'd sell them. So all the people in their town knew who they were. They knew that they got their fish from these guys. And there was Simon, who you'll hear about later, but we usually hear about him called Peter. and Andrew, his brother, and then you've got James and John, and they all worked in the same place. They all worked at the same sea. So they probably knew each other already, right? So do you think they were already friends, or maybe they were competitors? You know what that means? When they compete. So they all were working to catch fish, and they were all working to sell fish. So do you think that they were friends, or maybe that they, maybe John and James were trying to sell more fish than Simon and Andrew, right? My mind's blank. Yes, Andrew. I don't know. Miss Tammy. So they could have been competitors. They could have been competing. Like sometimes you guys like to compete, right? Like you're friends with your friends and you're playing, but you're trying to compete to see who's going to win. Well, when Jesus calls them and they leave, they're no longer competing, right? They just get to be friends and follow Jesus. And Jesus' love for them had to have been obvious, because do you think that you would just, if some random person came up and said, follow me, you'd just go unless you truly knew you could trust them, right? You shouldn't, unless you truly know you can trust them. And so these brothers, these two sets of brothers, knew they could truly trust Jesus, and they got up, they left their jobs, they left their family, and they followed Jesus and became his disciples and his friends. And though Jesus is not calling us to leave our families, right? He's calling us to follow him, to learn about him, and to share him with other people. So do you have friends at school, or maybe if you're homeschooled, maybe you have friends that you do other things with, sports or family members that you do stuff with? Those are the people Jesus wants you to share him with. And anyone you meet, you can share Jesus with just by being nice and loving the way Jesus was. So I want you guys to remember that. I want you to think about that. I want you guys to think about how Jesus treated people that he just met. Like some of you are just meeting Commander Chip for the first time. You might have seen him before, but you didn't really meet him before. And some of you knew him already. And so for those of you that didn't, you're making a new friend. And for those of you who did, you can help introduce them and make them friends. All right, guys, I love you guys so, so much. I cannot wait to come back and see you. But Miss Tammy needs a rest and a break, and I'm going to go enjoy some beach time. All right? So I love you guys. I will miss you. And Commander Chip is going to pray with you guys. So love you all. Bye.